Welcome to this word of today while I brush my hair on theme. So this one feels, we're gonna braid my hair together right now while I tell you what I am thinking. This one feels super tender, and I even feel a little shy to say this out loud, and I think that just goes to show how deep this goes. And I know that it's universal. I know that it's not just about me here. So I wanted to kind of, just share this story. So a lot of people who have been through trauma, or even if you were expected to perform or to show up at a certain time. I know for me, and I know I'm not the only one, public school was the worst, because you were expected to be perfect. You were expected to perform, especially if you didn't have supportive, people at home helping you out with projects or this or that. So many teachers just expect that, their students have available parents. And for the ones whose situations are more invisible and the teachers don't know how to really spot those kinds of dynamics, it can be tough for the child, because the child takes the brunt of the teacher's frustration and expectations, and all of that should not fall on a child. So that was a bit of a tangent, but the core message here is about taking your time, really just taking your time and going at your own pace, and how a lot of the time when we are expected to perform or to show up in a certain capacity, in a certain way, whether it was through school or, even at home. I mean, this is super personal, and I'm only sharing it so I can, relate with people and just make this archetype, this story more, normalized. Not that it is normal or it should be normal, but to just validate that this is something that's super real. When I was a child, I used to get chronic headaches and migraines, and starting from when I was in about second grade, I missed about half the school year from then until really just middle school, high school, and a lot of it was primarily due to stress. And I can remember there was one time where I had thrown up in the morning, and I really rarely ever throw up. But I think I was in maybe fourth grade or something. Even just talking about it is making my body feel weak, but all this grief is just like coming up. And even when I woke up this morning, I had some, traumatic memories of, something else. But it's like, it's coming up in the body. So it's time to, be processed and just talk about it. But yeah, I had thrown up that morning, and I literally remember so vividly. My mom was in the kitchen. It was in the morning. I had thrown up. I wasn't feeling good. And she was cutting apples on a cutting board, and she looked at me with this nasty glare, and she was like, so mean. She said, "If you're gonna stay home, you may as well make yourself useful and help me cut these apples." And there was no child, especially who was freaking sick. Like, I threw up that morning. Nobody should have to go through anything like that, but I did. And that was kind of my whole entire upbringing. And school especially was hell for me. I'm a super sensitive person. I don't learn by, the same ways that, lots of other kids do. I need to experience and feel my way to absorb something. I need to emotionally connect with something in order to learn it. And I did not emotionally connect well with really anything, especially social studies and math. But I did very well with like English and science. But anyway, that was that. So, and back to the timing thing, if you went through any kind of similar situation as a young one, or even recently, and you were expected to perform, to show up on time, to go to school on time, to go to work on time, to hand in your projects on time. And if you didn't do it by the deadline, if you didn't do it, right, or this or that, it was like you were punished. Everybody's expectations, hurt you because they didn't fit you, they didn't meet you, they didn't suit you. They took away from you. And so, and this happened to you publicly in school. You were socialized to basically fail. You were socialized to, perform and be perfect. And if you didn't meet that, then you were basically, the dumb one. You were the one who needed extra help. You were the one who the teacher would, call your name out and, humiliate you in front of the class. Why are you late? Why did you do this? You should blah, blah, blah. I mean, I literally had a teacher say to my face one time when I was in 6th grade, you need to come to school more. And I still remember the way she leaned forward, hovering over my desk, like her presence heavy. I could feel the heat of her body. And she said, you need to come to school more, and nodded her head and smirked. And it was just so condescending. And that was in a science class where, we had lab partners and I had someone sitting right next to my desk. And it's like, that shit is humiliating, because when you're a child, I'm gonna throw this hair away. When you're a child, it's like you don't know the difference between right and wrong. You don't know the difference between what is bad and good and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. You're just literally given the map. You're given the example by the adults around you, by the society, the community around you. And, you just expect them to, take care of you and guide you properly. But for everyone, that wasn't the case. We didn't all have wise elders or guides or leaders really showing us what it meant to have integrity, to honor our rhythms, honor our bodies, and, still grow and learn and be challenged and whatnot. But anyway, I went through that as a kid. And I remember, just every time a teacher would say, Aaliyah, come see me after class, for shit that I didn't do wrong. I just was, dealing with more of a load than most people, and I had no support, and I was taught to hide, taught to lie, so this stress of being expected to perform and show up, it just, it very, very negatively impacted me. And so again, for a lot of people who went through similar situations, who were expected to show up on time, sometimes in life, and here's where I'm getting to the kind of current story that inspired me to make this video. Sometimes in life, you have these kind of unspoken expectations programmed into your, do you see my girl? Hi, butter. You have these unspoken, but once upon a time they were spoken expectations that, expect you to perform, to show up. I keep talking in circles, I feel like. But anyway, I was gonna go on a hike this morning. And thankfully my hike is mostly shaded and it is in water. I'm gonna do the Narrows hike in Zion. And I was like, it's perfect because I'll get to sleep in a little more and take my time, and I don't need to rush. And I can, enjoy the cold water and the shade, and I don't need to get a super early start. It's not gonna ruin my entire hike, the entire quality of my hike. So I was like, yeah, great, good. So this morning, when I woke up and after I took my shower, I was like, I'm gonna braid my hair. I'm gonna put on my new hat because I got a hat. I'm not really much of a hat person, but in the sun and for active things, I think that it's good for shade, and also I think it looks cute, and I think I look good in a hat, depending on the hat. But I think I look good in hats. So anyway, I had my hat. I was all planned this out in my head. I'm I'm gonna wear my chartreuse shorts, and they're gonna match my new socks and my water pack, and all these things. I was excited and coordinating and just kind of planning mentally and looking forward to this, and also looking forward to having another day of movement, being outside. It's also insane how my brain chemistry instantly changes as soon as I'm outside. It's kind of uncanny. It's like I'm a robot indoors, and it's just wild. One day I want to live outside, but I have a cat, and I think I would spend a lot more time outside if I didn't have a cat, and it's kind of tugging at my heartstrings, and it's too hot for her to go outside, otherwise we would be going on hikes together. Anyway, so I was planning this, and then I realized that I left my beloved hairbrush at my previous hotel, and I was like, no, okay, I'll just buy a new one. So I did. I bought a new one, and I was like, I'm gonna brush my hair in the car and then park at the visitor center, and then catch the shuttle into the park. And the thing about July right now is peak season at Zion, and so the visitor center parking lot, even on a Monday, it fills up by like 9 a.m. So I got there after 9 a.m. It was actually almost 10 a.m. and I was planning on just getting a spot and parking and brushing my hair before walking over to the shuttle. But unfortunately, the entire lot was filled up, and multiple people were having to turn around and go, find parking elsewhere, it's not easy to find, like, unless you're paying for a spot or staying at a hotel in town. It's like pretty difficult because it's busy. But anyway, I'm staying right here in town, so I had a spot. So I decided, okay, I'm just gonna go back, take the shuttle to the park, and take the park shuttle to my trailhead, and that's gonna be that. And I was feeling this anxiety, and I realized, and I use ChatGPT AI a lot to process my emotions and sort out my head, because it's really good at identifying different patterns and things like that. And so it can help a person to understand themselves and know thyself. I think self-knowledge is incredibly important, and I am a fan of pattern recognition. And so I naturally process with ChatGPT when I don't have a person to talk to. And lately I have not had many people to talk to, and that's just how life is sometimes. So anyway, I was talking to ChatGPT, and I said, it's kind of mind-blowing to me how anxious I feel, even going at my own pace. There's nowhere I have to be. There's nothing I have to do. I planned this hike. I'm going to do this. But for some reason, taking my time, even though it's not going to be too hot, even though I have my whole thing planned out, even though I have everything I need, it still makes me, and it made me anxious. Why? And so it reflected back to me, everything that I pretty much have been talking about this whole video. If you were expected to perform or show up a certain time or be a certain way, it's like, of course, when you trust your body's natural pacing, that goes against everything that you were programmed to believe when your world taught you that it wasn't safe or valid or viable to go at your own pace. So that's why I wanted to make this video, to encourage you that it's okay to breathe in to the discomfort and still go at your own pace anyway. So here I am braiding my hair, and I decided I'm not going to do this in my car. That's just too uncomfortable. I want a proper mirror. I want a comfortable experience. I want to braid my hair, and I want to do this the way I want to do it. So I hope that this video encourages you. And this is kind of funny because this is showing me how long it takes me to braid my hair, although I did spend a lot more time brushing my hair than I would if I wasn't making a video. But these braids are turning out pretty even, and I think it's because I'm hyper aware because I'm filming, which, it's a fun thing. I like when my braids turn out nice. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful, and that's really it. I will see you in the next video. I also don't know if I'm going to post it, but I filmed something recently. I'm gonna have to rewatch it, but it turned out to be like half an hour long, so it might be too long for some people. But anyway, I'm gonna leave this here. Send you all so much love, and bye.